Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, yesterday morning I awoke to a surprise tweet from Kaz's Twitter account basically saying a new update was on the way for next week. Now, it's the Monday currently, so it will be this week that we received a new update, and I'm going to assume it'll probably be on the Thursday like usual, which will make it the 20th of October. Now, that is rather quite early in terms of Gran Turismo updates. I believe it's only been something like maybe 3 weeks since the last one, so possibly this could be a hint at Polyphony beginning to release updates more frequently. Now, I have seen a few kind of tweets in regards to the cars that were mentioned from data miners, and a lot of them are saying like there's no signs of the cars they data mined a long time ago, but these cars are kind of out of the blue, which makes me think that okay, they seem to have a lot of cars in the works, so it is possible that Polyphony could very much start releasing more regular updates, and that would be a very welcome change. Now, I'm unsure of exactly what else is going to come into this update in terms of events and, you know, changes. Possibly the selling car feature. I know that is pretty much fully ready to go, but let's talk about the cars themselves. Now, take this with a grain of salt because it may not be 100% accurate, but I think we have a fairly good idea of what they are as a community. So, car number one that I'm going to talk about, if you look at the silhouette, obviously I'm not going to show pictures because I don't really know the rules around doing so. So I'm just going to talk about them. So we'll go with the top left, which I believe may be the Maserati Marek SS. Which again, a classic car, a classic supercar, and I'm very much for it. Now, it gives me very reminiscent vibes of the Lamborghini Miura. I feel like it'll be a worthy addition to the game. It'll probably be the least used of the bunch of these cars that are coming, but again, in my opinion, more kind of classic supercars is always a plus. In terms of pricing, I'm not quite sure on this one. I'm not a huge clued up person around Maseratis and kind of the used prices. I'm going to assume this one will probably appear probably the Legends dealer, but there is a chance that it could maybe appear in the used car dealer. But I'm going to assume, like most of the time with these updates, that it'll probably go in the Legends dealer along with another car which is in this update. But in my opinion, the Maserati Marek is fully worthy of being in this game. It's a car we barely see anywhere else, so to have that kind of oddball vehicle kind of entering Gran Turismo, yeah, I am fully behind this one. Now let's talk about the other classic car, and this is another one that I personally believe will go straight in the Legends dealer, and that is going to be the Nissan Skyline GTR, or essentially the 2000 model, from I believe around about the 70s. Now, I may be wrong on this one, but I think this is sort of like the second generation of GTR models. So again, it's a GTR that does not get much love in terms of, you know, other racing games. You never really see it, but in my opinion, it's a stunning looking car. And now I can pretty much 100% confirm it's definitely going to be that version of the Skyline, purely because if you look at the silhouette of it, you can see sort of the mirror placement. It kind of matches up far too perfect to be any other car. Again, I think this one will go in the Legends dealer. I don't think it'll be too expensive. I think it'll be very much in line with the other classic GTR we have, the previous model, maybe even cheaper. Again, I do think this one will go into the Legends dealer, and in my opinion, it's another Skyline, another GTR, and it's one that doesn't get much love, so I am more than happy to see this enter the game. I personally think these four cars are really good for Gran Turismo. It's kind of got a mix of what each kind of individual player may want, with the other two cars I'll talk about being very worthy additions in my opinion, because it's something that a lot of people have been criticising Gran Turismo for quite heavily. So, in my opinion, the new Skyline, or should I say classic Skyline that will be coming, is definitely a worthy addition. Car number 3, the Mazda Roadster, or MX-5, Miata, whatever you want to call it. This will be the 22 version, and I've got a feeling this is the Cup competition version, which, in my opinion, is always awesome. It's nice to kind of see a car that will hopefully work alongside the touring car version. I don't think it'll be quite as powerful, but if it kind of matches the sort of, you know, sporty racy version that we do have or do see in real life for the newer Mazda models, then yeah, I'm completely for it. And it actually works in my favor for my racing league, because that means instead of using the road going version with race parts on, I can essentially just change it over to this brand new version. So in my opinion, I am really excited for this one. I know a lot of people are like, oh well, it's just another little Mazda Roadster, like, you know, they're absolutely pointless, we've got enough of them. Originally I thought this was the second generation of MX-5s or Roadsters, again, whichever one you want to call it. But no, it seems to be the kind of updated racy version of the one that we currently have in the game, which I believe is the ND Roadster. I believe sort of the name for this one is something like the NR-A 2022 version. I believe this is going to be, you know, so a brand new up-to-date car, which again shows that they can bring these more modern cars into Gran Turismo. And I feel like maybe this game was released a bit too early, and this car's probably been sat around or was meant to be in the game at release, but, you know, probably had a lot to do with Sony, you know, forcing Polyphony to get this game out early. So it does appear that we are starting to get more of a, I guess, up-to-date car roster, and again, I'm all for it. Completely worthy addition to the game, and I'm actually really excited to use this little thing. Now let's talk about the last one, and this is the one where most people have been kind of complaining, and I wouldn't say they've been complaining about the car itself. I think it's mostly down to Gran Turismo. So if you look at the current GT3 car roster, you'll notice many of them are just straight whipped over from Gran Turismo Sport. There's not many up-to-date newer models. Now, what I believe this car to be is the updated version of the Nissan GTR. I believe the one we currently have in the game is from around 2013. So again, it's almost 10 years old. It's massively outdated, and if they are bringing the new version or the more up-to-date version of the GTR GT3, then I'm all for it, because in my opinion, the GTR is one of the best looking, best sounding GT3 cars ever made, especially in terms of the more modern ones. I absolutely love the thing. I remember being blown away when I first saw one in person, especially the sort of up-to-date, more aggressive styled GTR. So it does seem like we are again getting a update to the GT3 class, which is very outdated at this point, and I get it's a car which essentially stems from 2018, so I'm unsure of the actual year they'll put on this one. I'm going to assume if they go for sort of the release year of this, it'll be around about 2018, but I believe that is the most up-to-date GT3 version of the Nissan GTR. So again, any updated kind of versions of GT3 cars, I'm completely for it. Hopefully we do get the updated Mercedes at some point. I believe they had an update, I want to say last year or maybe this year, to their GT3 model. So hopefully this starts a trend of just kind of updating the car roster, getting some more up-to-date versions of cars. Obviously, you know, when it comes to stuff like the GT4s, GT3s, they don't get updated every year exactly. They usually do like an Evo version of a lot of them. So, you know, you'll have one model that'll stick around for, let's say, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 6 years. Then it'll be kind of either updated or replaced by a different model from that manufacturer. So hopefully this does start bringing that trend in where we will begin to see more up-to-date models. And if you kind of look back, we've had stuff like the Toyota Hypercar, the Subaru BRZ, the GT300 model. Obviously, if this is the Nissan GTR GT3, the more modern version, that's again an update. We've had the updated Mazda touring car, I guess you can call it that, or cup car, whatever you want to call it. So it does look like we are going to be getting more modern updated cars to our roster with these updates, as well as the classics thrown in, because let's be honest, Gran Turismo is known for its kind of weird and more obscure cars, especially in terms of the classics. So again, I feel like this is a much better step in the right direction compared to the previous, I guess, few updates, where I just felt completely disappointed. Update 1.20 really started the trend of me starting to fall out of love with this game. I felt it lacked a lot of content. I wasn't majorly interested in the cars. I think in the end the standout for me was the Porsche GT4 Cayman, the road version. That ended up being my favourite of the bunch. Obviously 1.23 to me was the biggest update. It got me to the point where I wanted to walk away from this game. But if this is going to start a new trend of more recent updates, and you know, the fact that these data mined cars which have already been found in the files are not appearing, but they kind of bringing other cars forward, then it seems like they have a lot in the works. And hopefully Polyphony do start making more frequent updates, do start pushing more into these updates. The fact that we're getting 4 cars instead of 3 is, while to most people seems really stupid, but to someone that's had to put up with these awful updates, I will take more content if I can get it, sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully this really is a good step in the right direction. Hopefully Polyphony starts to prove myself and everyone else wrong, and kind of goes back to the way Polyphony used to be when they was kind of on that pedestal of being that company. Because I think they've got a lot of making up to do. You know, they've made a lot of mistakes. They've kind of ignored a lot of what we want coming into the game. And while no, I'm not expecting them to get everything perfect, this to me just seems like it is possible we could maybe get a bit of a mini revival. You know, I don't want to get my hopes up massively, so I'm going to stay neutral for this update. But from what I've seen so far, they're catering to all types of players. They're bringing in 2 classic cars, they're bringing in a classic JDM, they're bringing in a cup car, which for me works perfectly, especially with my league. And they're beginning to kind of bring more up-to-date GT3 cars in, which a lot of people have been moaning about for months. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Polyphony start taking this game in the direction it deserves, because I've said this all along, the foundations of GT7 are perfect. We just need Polyphony to begin pushing more events out, pushing more cars out, and just putting in them features which were, you know, promised since day one. And maybe, just maybe, within the next year or two, we can have the Gran Turismo 7, which we all believed was going to come at release. And again, I've said this before as well, I do not fully blame Polyphony for the state that GT7 was released in. I have a feeling that Sony may have pushed them to release it early, considering how notorious Gran Turismos were for getting delayed. I do feel like Sony wanted to kind of jump the gun and get this game out as early as possible, and now Polyphony are having to play catch up. Obviously they are not 100% innocent, they've done a lot of missteps around and a lot of ignoring the fan base, but hopefully this is a kind of turning point for Gran Turismo, because part of me wants to believe that the potential this game has can be fulfilled. So hopefully this is going to be a banger of an update. Obviously they've had a massive couple of missteps with 120 and 1.23, and I feel like it's time now that Polyphony really do up their game, get on updating this game as fast as possible. And I'm not saying, you know, do it on a weekly basis, but you know, you've proven within 3 weeks you've released one update, and now you can release another, you know, with more cars than we usually get, hopefully more events than we usually get. And then, you know, start silencing your critics, and that includes me, because I've been very critical of Polyphony, and I just want the best for a game that has been, you know, around for me personally since my childhood. So, you know, that's my viewpoint. I do not want Gran Turismo to, you know, stay in the gutter. I will honestly take everything back that I've said about Polyphony if they begin to prove us wrong. So that's going to be it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Check the controller people out down in the description down below. I also have my Discord in there if you want to join that and meet some like-minded people. So I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers guys. Peace.